I lost 40 pounds when I was around 14 years old over the span of like 3 or 4 months because, for one, I'll be honest, I was extremely self-conscious about my weight when I was a teenager. Not so much anymore because I feel like being a teenager, especially a teenage girl, mostly a teenage girl, you tend to be a lot more self-conscious about things that other demographics of women and people are not that self-conscious about. I feel like teenage girls often compare themselves to other girls, compare themselves to celebrities, compare themselves to just about anybody that looks better than them. And it's obviously unhealthy to compare yourself to other people. But I was someone that was just really insecure when I was a teenager because I got picked on a lot. If you've seen any of my last videos, I got picked on because of my skin. My acne was pretty bad, and I also got picked on because I was a little bit overweight. I was about 25 to 30 pounds overweight, and I ended up losing 40 pounds over the span of 3 or 4 months during the summer between ages 13 and 14, mostly when I was 14. And I just wanted to share some of the things that I did to achieve that in a healthy manner, because we're not into starvation or deprivation. Over here, we are doing things in a healthy way, slowly, counting calories, exercising, being healthy. And I just wanted to say that your weight does not define your health. Obviously, being obese is not healthy, but if you have a little bit of belly fat or you're a little bit bigger than the average person, that doesn't mean you're unhealthy. You can go to the doctor, get all of your scans and all of your tests and blood work done, and you could be healthy and still be a little bit overweight, as long as you're not morbidly obese and you go to the doctor and you're in good health. That's really all that matters. But if you're just someone that wants to lose, maybe 10, 20, 30 pounds, I feel like this video would be helpful. I'm not a doctor or a dietitian, but this is what worked for me. You can take some of my tips and try them out, but ultimately everybody's different. And so what worked for me may not work for you. You might have to kind of tweak some of the things that I did, but I think that my tips are pretty safe and healthy to use, so I'm gonna share them. First, anyone is going to tell you this if you're trying to get tips to lose weight, and that is to get plenty of water and plenty of sleep. Water is one of the most healthiest things you can put into your body. It's hydrating, it helps with your metabolism, it keeps you full. A lot of times when I was trying to lose weight, I would think that I was hungry after eating, so I would eat a meal, and then maybe 30 minutes later, I would feel like I was hungry when I really wasn't, because I had just eaten a meal. When in reality, I wasn't consuming enough water, because a long time ago when I was a teenager, I didn't drink a lot of water. I didn't drink a lot of water when I was a kid either. And I didn't really know the importance of drinking a lot of water when it comes to weight loss and just in general. So I would not drink that much water. And then I was always thirsty. And a lot of times thirst can be mistaken for hunger. So before you eat something, after you've just eaten, to stay in a deficit, you want to just drink some water. And a lot of the times you probably won't even be hungry after drinking water because you were likely just thirsty. As for sleep, sleep is also really important. It helps regulate your hormones. So you have 2 hormones in your body that are responsible for hunger and being full. And if you're not getting enough sleep, these hormones can get thrown off balance and can cause you to overeat a lot of the time if you're not getting your 7 to 9 hours of sleep every single night, because everybody needs a different amount of sleep every night. So if you're not getting the amount of sleep that's proper for you, your hormones that are involved with being hungry and full can get thrown off, causing you to overeat, be out of a deficit, and then gain weight over time. Sleep also improves your metabolism along with water, and it also aids in muscle recovery, because when you're sleeping, your body repairs itself, and if you're not getting enough sleep, it's not repairing itself, and you are also lessening your metabolism. Now I'm going to get into some of the facts that I found for myself. The first 2 are universal. Some of these are also universal. I have a list because I didn't want to forget anything. Some of these things are also universal, meaning everyone should follow them, but these are also some things that I found were working specifically for me. So the first one is to cut out fast food. I cut fast food out completely in the beginning. I do eat fast food every now and then. It just depends where it's from. And when I do get fast food, I tend to get healthier items on the menu. And if I'm not getting healthy items on the menu, I am doing it in moderation. Moderation is key when it comes to weight loss, because I feel like a lot of people fail when they try to quit everything cold turkey. Like they stop eating fast food, stop eating sweets and foods that they actually enjoy, and then they start craving these things, and then they give into these cravings, and then they fail. So I feel like having foods that you actually enjoy and sweet treats in moderation is key to making sure you are successfully reaching your weight loss goals. But like I said, it has to be in moderation. So you can have some candy, some sweets, an unhealthy meal, maybe a couple times a month every now and then, so that you're not restricting yourself and depriving yourself from things that you actually like. Because when you're losing weight, you can still have foods that you like. A lot of people think that when it comes to losing weight, you've got to just eat salad and oatmeal and quinoa. I don't even like quinoa, but a lot of people think that you have to eat a bunch of nasty foods that you don't find delicious. Another thing that I did was cut out processed sugar and refined carbs. So basically anything that wasn't a natural sugar. So most of the sugars that I was consuming came from fruits. I wasn't eating candy, packaged sweets, packaged desserts, any type of dessert with refined sugar, or any type of like cookie, cake, crackers, like simple carbs. I wasn't eating any of that stuff. Or again, just like the fast food, you can either cut it out completely or do it in moderation, whatever you think you're capable of doing. I cut it out completely because I wanted to see the results fast. So I was kind of strict with myself in the beginning, and I did kind of have some mess ups every now and then when I wasn't able to stick to my goals, but mostly I was cutting everything out completely. Next is you do not want to drink your calories. A lot of people don't realize the amount of calories they're consuming when they drink their coffees in the morning, when they go get their coffees from these different restaurants that have all the sugar and the creams and the syrups that go into them. A lot of people don't realize how many calories they're actually consuming. Like if you're going to fast food restaurants and you're getting sodas and juices with your meals. I remember the first time I looked up how many calories were in a medium or a large drink that I was getting from fast food restaurants. And a lot of times I was consuming like an additional meal or two per day just by the drinks that I was consuming. And you don't realize with these drinks, on top of the food that you're consuming, that you're consuming an additional meal or two. A lot of people are not understanding why they're not losing weight. And it's because these drinks are taking you out of your deficit. So don't drink your calories. Just look at the nutrition label on the side of the drinks that you're consuming, or when you go to a restaurant and think about what you usually get. Google the nutrition facts of that beverage, that size of that beverage, and you'll probably be like, oh, that is quite a bit. This next tip I feel is really relevant right now because on social media, I keep seeing young girls talking about ED tips and sharing things that they do to prolong their ED, sharing things that they did to start their ED. And I just want to say before I continue, if you are a young girl that has been seeing this content on your social media, or you've been contemplating doing something along the lines of restricting or any other ED practice, it is not sustainable in the long run. Not only is it extremely unhealthy and dangerous, it is not sustainable. Your body was designed to eat food and absorb nutrients to help you survive. And if you're not giving your body these nutrients, there are a lot of functions in your body that are not going to work properly. Your teeth can fall out, your hair can fall out, you can lose your period and your fertility, you will not be able to have children. There are a lot of other different things that could happen because you're restricting your calories and restricting your nutrition. It's not worth it. You're pretty much just setting yourself up to have a lot of health issues in the future, and it's just not healthy and it's dangerous, and there are better ways and more healthy ways to lose weight. Here are some things that will help you stay fuller for longer, so that way you're not mindlessly snacking in between meals or overeating in between meals or even during your meals. You want to consume a lot of whole foods, complex carbs, a lot of protein, and fiber. I think out of every single thing that I just named, fiber is one of the most important ones. I don't see a lot of people talking about fiber as much as they should. Fiber is one thing that can lower your chances of, I think it's either stomach or colon cancer or both. That in itself is a win. There has been a rise in the diagnosis of colon cancer, and it could be linked to the lack of fiber in diets, but fiber is extremely good for you. It helps with your bowel movements, it keeps you full for longer, and protein is good for muscle and also staying full, as well as whole foods and complex carbs being a lot healthier than fried foods, fast foods, chips, cookies, candy, all that stuff. Portion control is also a really good tip. A lot of people tend to pile their plates high. I am sometimes still guilty of this, and I was guilty of that a lot in the past. Getting way more food than you need, stuffing yourself, thinking that you need to finish everything on your plate. You do not need to finish everything on your plate. As soon as you start feeling a little bit full, and even when you're satisfied, stop eating. You don't want to eat until you're stuffed, because that means that you have consumed way too much. You're not supposed to eat until you're full. You're supposed to eat until you're satisfied, or right before the fullness starts to set in. A lot of people that I have seen talking about portion control talk about getting a smaller plate and trying to fit everything that you would eat on that smaller plate, and it forces you to not get as much food. When I get a smaller plate for portion control, if I know that I'm going to be eating something unhealthy, especially, I typically fill a third of the plate with vegetables, and then maybe a third of the plate with my main course, and then if there's a side like bread, rice, I put that on the last part of the plate. That's just what I do, but I recommend filling up most of your plate with vegetables and then filling the rest with everything else that you're eating. Another thing that I would do is I would plan my meals ahead of time. So that means meal prepping your foods for the week. This is easy if you live alone, but if you live with your family, it's really hard to kind of say no to what your family's eating. So you might be able to eat your own thing for breakfast and lunch, but if your family has ordered pizza, or they're eating something unhealthy, or they're going out to eat and you still live at home, it can be really hard to say no. So maybe meal prep your breakfast and lunch to be really healthy. And then if your dinner's gonna be unhealthy, you can still eat it, still participate, but eat a smaller amount than everyone else is eating, or eating a smaller amount than what you would usually eat. So pretty much meal prepping throughout the week, so that way you know how many calories you're consuming with each meal ahead of time. And if you know that you're going to be eating something unhealthy for one of those meals, you can plan ahead of time the amount of calories that you're going to be eating for other meals, so that way you won't overeat when you eat that unhealthy thing, if that makes sense. The main reason for this is, like I stated in the beginning, you don't want to deprive yourself of the foods that you like. So eating something like oatmeal for breakfast with some fruit, and then maybe for lunch having a smoothie or a sandwich with some baked chips, and then having pizza for dinner. If your whole family's eating pizza and you don't want to feel left out, or you don't want to feel like you're not eating the foods that you really like, and it's kind of difficult for you to cope with this weight loss journey because you're not eating the foods that you like, you don't have to do that. You don't have to deprive yourself from those things. If there is a specific meal from a fast food restaurant that you really like, or a specific home cooked meal that you really like that's not that healthy, you can find healthy alternatives. So for example, a lot of pasta dishes, I have opted to use cottage cheese. I use low-fat cottage cheese in a lot of the dishes, and a lot of them have turned out really good. Or if you want a chicken sandwich, instead of frying it, you could bake it, you could put it in the air fryer. Counting calories and macros is also extremely important. You want to know how much you're eating to stay in a deficit. The thing about weight loss is that you have to be in a deficit. If you're not losing weight, you're obviously not in a deficit. And if you want to gain weight, you have to be in a surplus. So if you're not gaining weight, you're not in a surplus. It's more than just calories in, calories out. I know a lot of people like to say that. It's different for everybody because everybody's got different issues, different things going on. But all in all, you have to be in a deficit. Like most people that don't have any other health issues that would inhibit their weight loss, simply just being in a deficit. So you want to count your calories, count your macros, do it in your notes app. You can download an app that helps you do it more neatly. I'm personally not gonna ever do what I eat in a day, what I eat in a week, anything like that, because I feel like that could be harmful to some people. I am fairly short, and there are a lot of people that could be watching this video that are really tall, or have a higher activity level, higher metabolism. A lot of that is also genetics too. So I feel like with me sharing what I ate in a day or what I eat in a day now, that could be harmful. Because for example, if what I ate in a day was 1,300 calories to lose weight, someone would probably take that and think, oh, like I have to eat 1,300 calories to lose weight. And if they're like 5'10" and I'm like 4'10", then that is obviously harmful, because taller people have to eat more because they expend more calories because they're taller, they have more muscle mass, and it takes a lot more energy for them to move around than a shorter person. They could also have a higher metabolism due to genetics, so they may need to eat more because of that. And what I eat in a day could be severe restriction to them, or what I eat in a day could be too much for someone else. So I just feel like what I eat in a day videos are harmful. That's just how I've always felt. So I'm probably never going to do that. I just thought that sharing tips would be better, and then you could take these tips and formulate your own meal plans and formulate your own workout plans for your own journey. I also lift, and before I started lifting, I needed a very small amount of calories because I wasn't really doing a lot of activity after I graduated from high school. I was kind of just sitting around working and going to school. But once I started lifting, I needed a lot more calories, a lot more protein to build muscle. So that also plays a big role in what I eat. I do eat a fairly large amount of calories right now. And so again, if I shared that, that could be too much for somebody or still too little for somebody. Also, exercise doesn't really contribute that much to weight loss. Weight loss is in the kitchen and fitness is in the gym. So if you really want to lose weight, simply just exercising and also having a poor diet is not gonna be enough. You cannot outwork a bad diet. An analogy that I like to use is it easier to not eat 500 calories worth of cake, or is it easier to burn off 500 calories on the treadmill or in the gym? It's easier to just not eat the cake. And back to lifting, the more muscle you have, the faster your metabolism is, because it takes way more calories to sustain muscle than it does to sustain fat. So if you want to eat a little bit more, get in the gym and pump some iron. That's kind of the reason why I started lifting. There's multiple reasons why I started lifting, but one of them was to eat more, because I was not eating a lot of calories before I was lifting because my body didn't need that many calories. Like I said, my maintenance was not that much. So I was like, I'm just gonna lift so I can eat a little bit more. And now I eat close to 2,000 calories every single day, and it doesn't look like it because I lift. So if that's something that interests you, maybe don't do it for that reason, but that is a plus of lifting, is that you can eat more. Also, I just want to say this because I don't want people to think that exercise is not important at all. You still need to exercise because it's healthy, especially cardio for your heart and overall health, but it just doesn't contribute that much to weight loss as people think. Weight loss mostly comes from your diet. And I know that I said that I didn't want to share what I eat in a day or what I eat in a week, but I do want to share 2 recipes that helped me with different cravings, because you can put these in your diet however you see fit. So if you're eating 2,000 calories, you can fit this into your 2,000 calorie diet. If you're eating 1,500 calories, you can fit this into your 1,500 calorie diet. It's just not like a full day of eating, obviously, that I'm sharing. I'm just sharing 2 recipes. So the first recipe is something sweet, and the second recipe is something savory. The first recipe is 1 cup of Greek yogurt, 1/4 cup of cottage cheese, 1 or 2 peeled oranges or cuties, like those little oranges. I haven't actually had an orange in a really long time. I've just been eating cuties. Anyway, 1 or 2 cuties, and then a packet of orange Kool-Aid powder. I know that I said no processed sugar, but I also said in moderation. And this is really good. I would eat this after dinner if I wanted something sweet, because there's a lot of times after I eat something that I want something sweet, and instead of reaching for cookies, ice cream, brownies, cake, anything unhealthy that I may have in my house, because I have other family members that don't diet and they eat things that aren't the healthiest. And I sometimes look at some of those snacks and I want some. So this is what I make when I want something sweet and I don't really want to eat a bunch of calories. And as for the savory recipe, this is something that I typically eat as a snack, or sometimes I eat this for lunch, and it's buffalo chicken dip. You can make this as a single serving or a group serving. I make it as group serving and I just get a little bit, and it is 2 cups of blended cottage cheese. You want to blend it in a blender because it is smooth. I don't know what it would turn out like if you didn't blend it, but the recipe I found said that you could blend it to make it creamy, because buffalo chicken dip is usually made with cream cheese, and I wanted to make a lower calorie, lower fat, high protein version of it. So I opted for low fat cottage cheese, and I blended it up so that it wasn't chunky, because cottage cheese is chunky. So 2 cups of that, 3 shredded chicken breasts, and skim mozzarella cheese and cheddar cheese, shredded up, blended up in there. And you want to bake it at 400 degrees for about 20 minutes. And you can serve it with some low-fat tortilla chips, bell peppers, cucumbers, anything that you want. But that is pretty much all that I have for my weight loss tips. Again, these are just my own tips that you could factor into your own weight loss journey however you see fit. So I hope you enjoyed this week's video, and I'll see you guys in the next one.